All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to be playing a soulful blues lead, and we're going to be talking through phrasing and playing expressively and trying to keep things simple. So we're going to be staying in the key of a song, which means we're not going to worry about what the chords are, what notes to land on, any of those things. We're just going to be playing the B minor pentatonic scale and the B major pentatonic scale for the most part because the song's in the key of B. We'll talk through all that in the lesson. But if you'd like to download the tablature as well as the MP3 jam tracks, which I have in 2 tempos, you can get all of those things, which will really allow you to practice all the stuff that we're going to go through in this video. By going to activemelody.com, you can go to the weekly lessons page and do a search for EP453. Well, before I get into this, I realize it's been a while since I've done a lesson in this style. Somebody pointed out to me, actually a few people have pointed out recently, that I haven't been doing some of the stuff that I used to do. And I didn't know what that meant, so I went back and looked at some old lessons. I don't ever go back, by the way. When I do these lessons, I put them out and then I just move on to the next thing. But I went back and looked at some old stuff, and there was a phase where I went through kind of like a soulful, kind of R&B style kind of thing. So I wanted to kind of get back to that, and hopefully this will pacify some of that. People wanting me to do some stuff that I'd done in the past. Obviously I'm making these things up as I go week by week, and so there's no game plan to follow. But I do listen to what you say, and so I do, and hopefully this is more in line with what some of you want. So anyway, let's talk through this song. So this is played in the key of B, and why the key of B? I don't know. I just randomly grabbed the key of B. There's no reason for it. Obviously, there's no vocal or anything that has to keep up with that. But there's 3 chords, so this is actually very simple structure-wise. We have our 1 chord, which is a B, and then we go to the 2 chord, which is a C sharp minor. And by the way, if you don't know what I mean when I say the 2 chord, the 1 chord, what the numbers mean, all of that's covered in the Essential Theory course, which you have access to as a premium member, so you can check that out. Anyway, our 1 chord, we go to our 2 chord, and then we go to the 5 chord, which is an E chord. So B, C sharp minor, E. And that's really all there is to the verse in the song. There is sort of a chorus or a part 2, and it's the same chords with the exception of an A chord. I threw in an A chord, and then you go to the 5 chord and back. That A chord is an outside chord, so it's a borrowed chord. But we'll get to that in a minute. But those are the chords we're going to be working with, starting with our B chord, and then obviously playing in the key of B. Let's listen to the first part, this first little phrase that we're going to go through, and then we'll break it down. All right, so let's break this down. Now this first phrase sounds like this. So I'm sliding with my middle finger to the 8th fret 3rd string, and then I'm playing the 9th fret 2nd string, back to that 8th fret, and then 7th fret 2nd string. So it's, and then I landed on that 8th fret 3rd string. But the bigger question is, what is this? Where's this coming from? Remember, we're playing in the key of B. So if I play my B chord like this, using the E shape out of Caged, the top part of that little triad there, lives within pattern 2 of the major pentatonic scale for B. So look at this. Those 5 notes are the major pentatonic scale for B. So that's pattern 2 of the B major pentatonic scale. And you can just connect it back to your B chord shape. You can see where, when I'm playing that triad, the top part of the chord, that chord lives in major pentatonic scale. So anyway, that's what's going on there. And then I go into, the song goes to the C sharp minor, but I came down here and went. Now, it sounds very minor, very kind of, it fits perfectly with the chord, but I wasn't thinking about the chords. I was staying in the key of the song. So mentally, all I did was I went from pattern 2 of the major pentatonic scale down to pattern 1 of the major pentatonic scale for B. Forget the C sharp minor chord. I was just thinking B major pentatonic scale. And that allows me to just stay in those zones. And the chords are going to go major, they're going to go minor, they're going to do what they're going to do. I don't care. I'm just staying in my little zone here. And I can adjust, I can pivot depending on what I hear. So when I hear that minor chord, I can, you know, slide into the right note. And that's something that just comes over time. But at least I know what my parameters are. So to play this next phrase, ring finger on the 6th fret 4th string, ring finger on the 6th fret 3rd string, a full bend, play the note without the bend, and then watch this. There's a hammer on between the 4th fret and the 6th fret on the 3rd string. There's a little bit of vibrato going on. Actually, there's quite a bit of vibrato going on throughout this whole thing. I don't want to spend any time on that technique. We've all got different styles on that. If you really want a lesson on it, I did do a micro lesson on it with some exercise materials. So you can go to activemelody.com/micro and just do a search in the box there for vibrato. And there's a breakdown on that. But anyway, that's what's going on there. Now after that, the song goes to the E chord, and I play this. And it sounds right. It sounds perfect over that E chord. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually playing, I'm highlighting. In this case, I didn't mean to do it, but it just sort of happened instinctively. I'm playing the notes of the E chord using the C shape. So think of your C shape out of Caged, or the Keith Richards hammer-on thing that I'm always talking about. The two notes that I'm talking about here would be the 6th fret 4th string and the 5th fret 2nd string. And what will happen over time is you'll hear, this is something you got to really pay attention to here, because you got to hear this. It's a harmonized 6th, and I can do it all over the neck. Same notes right there, and that's just my E chord right there. But here's my 3rd interval, and there's my 1st interval. Same thing here. 3rd interval, 1st. I can do it up here. 3rd, 1st. I can do it up here. 3rd, 1st. And so there's this relationship that happens, but I hear it. I know when I'm playing the 3rd interval, which is this note, I know I can always take the string above it, skip that string, and go to the next string. So in this case, we're playing the 4th string, we're going to skip the 3rd string, go to the 2nd string, and I'm going to play 1 fret behind it. You could do this exact same thing down here. If you're playing up here, you would skip 2 frets. But you're always skipping a string in between. That's just a little formula for the harmonized 6. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much, but you have to be able to hear the sound of the harmonized 6. So when I heard that 3rd, I knew that I could come up here and grab the 1st. It really happened that quickly. So even though they're coming from the E chord shape, or I'm sorry, the E chord using the C shape, I wasn't thinking that. I just knew from here, oh yeah, I know where to go. Okay, from the beginning. Now the song goes back to the B, and watch this. Now this is something you really got to pay attention to. Let this be a little takeaway. If you leave this lesson with nothing else, you'll walk away with this awesome lick. Watch this. Let me show you how to play it, and then we'll connect it to something so you can use it. We're going to bar the first 4 strings on the 4th fret. We're going to play strings 4 and 3. I'm going to hammer onto the 6th fret 4th string. And then I'm going to move up and I'm going to bar the first 5 strings on the 4th fret. I'm going to play strings 5 and 4 now. And then do another hammer on, this time on the 6th fret 5th string. So there's the lick. And then I concluded with, I repeated that first part. But here's what you would need to connect it to. Remember, that's where the song is playing over the B chord at this point. Look at this. Here's a B chord using the A shape out of Caged. Or here's the B chord using the G shape out of Caged. Look at where that lick is. There's your chord. There's the lick. So connect them in your head. And the reason I'm saying that is that anytime you're playing that chord, if you're playing a D chord, playing a country song, you can use that lick. If you're playing a blues or whatever style, you can work that little pedal steel lick in. It's just a great little lick, and it's easy to play. I said we weren't going to be talking about chords, but here I am talking about them. But the irony is I didn't think about that when I was playing the lead. I just want you to get into the headspace of staying in those pentatonics or staying in the key of the song. You're not thinking about that. Because look at this. That's also major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. You see how they're connected? That little box there between the 4th fret and the 6th fret. It's in major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. It's also this little country pedal steel lick that's connected to chord shapes. It's just kind of, it's all mixed together, right? You know, are we talking chords? Are we talking scales? Man, we're kind of doing both. All right, let's listen to the next phrase and then we'll break it down. All right, so we're going into the same space, which is major pentatonic scale, pattern 2. Same notes, actually, we played before. So 8th fret 3rd string, 7th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 2nd string, and then I slid into the 9th fret 2nd string just to give it a little more, I don't know, flair. It just seemed like something I would do vocally or I would hear vocally. Now watch this. So I'm walking it down. 9, 7, 9th fret 3rd string down to the 8th fret 3rd string. Now this note, some of you are going to go, wait, that's not major pentatonic scale, pattern 2. You're right, but that would be in the major scale. So in that, I take some liberties in a few of these spots to actually just play notes from the major scale. Remember, the major scale and the major pentatonic scale, let me say it this way, the major pentatonic scale is inside of the major scale. It's the same scale. The only difference is the major scale has 2 extra notes, and that note happens to be one of those extra notes. Okay. And then we go back to the same spot we did before, which is major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. I did some bends on that 6th fret 3rd string. And then watch this. Great little lick there. That's the 4th fret 2nd string, 5th fret 2nd string, and then a full bend. Release it and land on the 4th fret 3rd string. Kind of not where you would expect to land, at least from where you know, from a technical standpoint, where your fingers are. That took me a while to be able to do that, where you're bending and releasing, but you're not bumping any notes along the way. It looks easier than it is when you try that. But you can do this. It may take half an hour to just kind of drill yourself. So some of you are going, hey, wait, what is this note? I thought we were major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. This is one of those extra notes that's in the major scale. So in fact, it's the same note as the one we just did when we went, right? So anyway, just connecting those two. And then watch this. Now listen how it switched gears there. I wanted to work this in. We were playing, everything we've been doing has been major pentatonic scale, but then in this one little spot, I went into the minor pentatonic scale, and you can tell how it just, it changes the moods. It's like there's a dial, and we dialed it into something real serious. And that's how I'm playing it. 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the 2nd string. All this is on just that 2nd string. Between the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. And then I went back to the 3rd fret and pushed it not quite into the major, but I'm working towards the 3rd of the B, which is that note. Just kind of hinting towards it. And by the way, this would be pattern 4 of the minor pentatonic scale for B. Right? You can connect that to your B chord using the A shape if that's easier. You can check out that lead guitar course if you want a little more information on connecting these pentatonics to your chord shapes. But that's how I played it. Now, after that, the song goes into the chorus. Let's listen to that, and then we'll break it down. Okay, so the song goes back to your B chord, and I'm coming back into pattern 2 of the major pentatonic scale, where we started, basically. And I'm picturing this little triad here, the top part of your B chord there. And when I played that, I'm sliding up to the 8th fret 3rd string, and then 7th fret, 9th fret on the 2nd string. And then watch this. There's a great little bluesy lick. It's kind of a piano lick, bluesy piano lick. So what I'm doing there is I'm holding down strings 1 and 2 on the 7th fret, and I'm hammering onto the 9th fret 2nd string. And look at where that's coming from. Major pentatonic scale pattern 2. Right? I'm just playing 2 notes at the same time. Now this one note's out of the key, or out of major pentatonic. It's going into minor, but we're going to play strings 2 and 3 on the 9th fret, and then 2 and 3 on the 7th fret, while we hammer on to the 8th fret 3rd string, hammer on to our 3rd interval. So all together, and then after that, I did an upstroke on the 7th fret 1st string, but notice my fingers, they're making the chord. They're making the triad. And then I came up here and went, and this is 11th fret 1st string, 12th fret 2nd string. But what is that? Look at this. So I'm playing a B chord here, a B triad here, right? What if I played a B chord using the D shape? Right? That's all I'm doing, but I'm just taking strings 1 and 2 out of it, which is a harmonized 3rd. It came up to this, and then, so when I did this is the same thing we just did. That little hammer on between the 7th fret and the 9th fret. So I came into that position, and then the 2 strings on the 7th fret, strings 1 and 2, and then back to that, this little staggered thing, 7th fret 1st string, 9th fret 2nd string. This is where the song goes to the A chord, and I went, and then watch this. This is an interesting thing because we're playing, I'm still, position-wise, I'm in major pentatonic scale pattern 2, right? So I'm going 7, 9 on the 1st string, but I don't do a full bend. That's too happy, right? That's too major. But if I do a half bend on the 9th fret, you see the difference? That little bit. Because I'm hitting this note, which would be minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. Minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, major pentatonic scale pattern 2. Right? So you can bend from one to the other. Hopefully that one little concept, you can take that and run with it. You can do the same thing on the 2nd string. Hear the difference? There's major. Real happy. Minor. Anyway, so I came back to that 7th fret 1st string, and then watch this. So this is minor pentatonic scale. We're going to do a little blues walk. 10th fret to the 7th fret on the 2nd string, and then a quick slide on the 3rd string from the 10th fret, that's the blue note, into the 9th fret. And then watch this. So that's 7, 9 on the 3rd string, and then 7th fret 2nd string, and then back to the 7th fret 3rd string. So we go. And then when I hit that, you can hear I'm pulling it towards the third. And then I'm playing 9th fret 4th string twice. So that blues lick goes. So that's the timing of it. All right, so the chorus repeats. We go through the chorus again, and I repeat a lot of this. That's exactly the same thing we did. That's also kind of a Chuck Berry thing, now that I think about it. But anyway, we're building up to this double stop here, strings 1 and 2 on the 7th fret. And then I come back to this thing here, which would be the top part of your D shape, right? It's still the B chord. And then I went like this. So I came up to this. That's 12th fret 1st string, 14th fret 2nd string, and then back to this. Now what is this? This would be if we were playing the chords. If we were playing, that would be your 1 chord, right? That's your B. The 2 chord would be minor, right? So 3 chord would be minor, so forth and so on. I'm just taking the top part out of that 2nd chord, the 2 chord, which is your C sharp minor. So that's all that is. So we have, right? And then the next chord is that C sharp minor, and I went like this. So I'm sliding up to strings 1 and 2, which is in that C sharp minor chord. And then I play strings 2 and 3, also in the chord. And then for this last little phrase, I went right back into the blues, the minor pentatonic scale. So this phrase, we're going to do that half bend again, 9th fret 1st string, bend and release, and then a quick slide up to the 12th fret 2nd string, which matches this note. That's a classic blues lick, is to play. Whatever you're hitting here, you slide up to it on the 2nd string. And then after this, this would be pattern 2 of the minor pentatonic scale for B, right? That's where all your Albert King and all of that stuff. So you have, and then I do a series of full bends on the 12th fret 1st string. So that's bending up to what would be the 14th fret of 1st string. I think I did 3 of them. And then listen to that. So I release the bend, 12th fret 1st string without the bend. So it's 12, 11, and then 12th fret 2nd string. And why did that sound different versus, that would be your minor pentatonic, right? But if you hit this note, that note would be in your major pentatonic scale. So just remember when you're playing your minor pentatonic scale, where you've got 1 finger here and 1 finger here, in between those two, you've got the 3rd interval of the chord, right? So which is major. So I hit that note, and then I came down to the 12th fret 2nd string. So I think I did it like that. That's it. 12, 11 on the 1st, and then 12 on the 2nd. And then I kind of re-emphasized that by repeated it, but an octave lower. So I came back into what would be the B chord on the 3rd string here, which would be, let's see, that would be 8th fret 3rd string. Did a hammer-on pull-off, and then the 9th fret 4th string, and concluded it like that. All right, so let's back up and listen to that last part one more time, and then that'll wrap up this week's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you haven't checked out Premium membership yet, I would encourage you to do so. You get obviously the tablature, you get the MP3 jam track, so you can practice putting all these licks into timing and practicing them, and you get 10 years worth of in-depth lessons like this. It's a really great resource for those of you that are interested in learning how to improvise. All right, we'll see you next week for something new.